Hi, I'm JJ Conway, and I help hardworking women and a few good men build financial confidence and take ownership of their financial future. I'm cheering you on with education on financial literacy, smart investments, and passive income streams. Welcome to Ladies of Wealth. Hey, everybody, it's JJ Conway. I want to welcome you to the Ladies of Wealth podcast. We have a very special edition today. It's Juneteenth week, and I am hosting the Juneteenth Legacy Conference. It's our 6th annual Juneteenth Legacy Summit, and we have a new YouTube page with clips from previous year's summit, and we'll soon have them from this year's summit. But today, for our Mindset Monday, and then continuing into our Wealth Building Wednesday, what I want to do is I want to talk with disability expert Greg Brinkleyn. We are going to be talking about the disparities of healthcare and disability and promotion and other things in the federal system, in the military system, and we're going to be broadcasting that as part of our Juneteenth Legacy Summits. Get ready, and bring your tissues, because some of these stories are either going to make you cry or make your blood boil. All right, so let's just go ahead and roll right into it. I am so excited to bring back to the stage, to the podcast, to the broadcast, someone who has been in our conferences and been in the podcast several times before. His name is Greg Brinkleyn, and he is the best-selling author of 2 great books. First one, Uncivilized, and his latest project, The 10 Disability Commandments. And remind me, the subtitle of Uncivilized is why government workers do what they do. Well, can you give me that full title?
How government workers behave and what to do to help them.
Yes, Uncivilized, how government workers behave and how to help them. It's in my other studio, so I'm slowly moving all my stuff over, right? And the 10 Disability Commandments. Some have called you the Disability Yoda. And I think it's really important, especially now that I'm a retiree, a retired Air Force, that I realize how important it is now to have people who are well versed in the disability system, because especially as we celebrate this Juneteenth week, where we're talking about racial disparities, there are a lot of people who don't know what they don't know, and they don't know how race has impacted their careers or their opportunities to receive benefits such as disability. Can you speak? Welcome. Wait, first of all, welcome. I just realized I know you, but the audience may not know you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, JJ. Thanks again for having me back on. I'm really excited. Always willing to help you. So I am a former award-winning disability professional. I had a 27-year career with the state of California and Social Security. 27 years combined, and my lane was Social Security disability. That's the lane I drove in. So I was in the mailroom, not handling the mail, as you already know, and I was able to work my way up to becoming a disability analyst, a senior analyst. I had several stops dealing with disability fraud, high-level action suits. I was a team leader over one of the 3 disability processing cadres in the nation. I also was a technical expert. I was a senior team leader in the disability processing branch in the Western region, Region 9. And just have a lot of, I'm kind of a renaissance man. I do a lot of things. I'm an executive coach. As you know, I'm a speaker, trainer, and an author. So I left government work in 2020 at the start of the pandemic, because I wanted to not only walk away from what I was dealing with at the job, but I also wanted to start my own coaching practice. So that's what I did. And then I pivoted and I started my business as a disability consultant and coach. That's what I do most of my time now. I'm the Disability Yoda, your on-point disability. So,
wait, say that again. Your on point. Say that again.
Your on-point disability authority and advisor.
I like that.
Yeah, so I've been involved in my YouTube channel that has been growing ever ever since last year, and it's becoming more popular now in those circles. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be with you today.
I'm so thankful that you're here today, and this is part of we're recording this as part of our Juneteenth Summit, Juneteenth Legacy Summit. It's going to be put on the Juneteenth Legacy Summit YouTube channel. It's also going to be broadcast as part of the Ladies of Wealth podcast. And I feel like you're a target of opportunity because there's a lot of things that people don't know, and this is kind of embarrassing in some spaces, but I feel like for me, I had no idea the difference in care that race and gender make until I was giving birth to my youngest, my miracle baby in my 40s, and so many complications with that pregnancy. And my husband is Caucasian, and I noticed a huge difference in how I was treated in that hospital when it was just me versus when he was in the room. And I was the military lieutenant colonel, not him. So it was a military hospital. So you would have thought that they would have respected the rank, but instead it was night and day. And I basically, because we had so many complications, they actually kept me in the hospital longer than I was supposed to be. And I was like, you've got to be here. You've got to be here. You've got to be here. Now we're not going to talk specifically about the execution of healthcare, but we are going to talk about obtaining our benefits. So before we do that, I see that we have somebody coming in. I am going to admit this person real quick. What I'd like to talk with you about is the impact of some of these things on our ability to first, let's talk about executing our government service, not execute. And I gotta stop saying that. I'm so used to execute meaning get things done, but execute also to kill. There's got to be a better word for getting stuff done. You're not just killing the meat and taking it home, but let's talk a little bit about that. I've got a story I would start with, but I think you do too. So I'm gonna let you go ahead.
Well, I think it's important for us to realize as African non-white individuals to understand how not just serious, it's not a serious issue. It's really a grave issue because there doesn't seem to be any end in sight to this. There are major disparities, especially when we're talking about people who are trying to obtain services, especially through the government, including disability. I think more so for disability because disability is so driven on medical evidence. And there you see the issue because now it becomes a thing where if you don't have health care, that significantly impacts your ability to get disability. So if you're not able to have a doctor, a regular doctor, a treating doctor, if you are not able to get services in the hospital for whatever reason related to your ethnicity, then your chances of being able to get those services are pretty slim to none. So it becomes this vicious cycle. And I've seen this in my career where you don't have health care, but you need help. You apply for the help, and they say, well, you need doctors. Okay, well, I try to get doctors, and I can't get doctors, and I get denied back, and the cycle continues. So it's a very rampant issue, not just for an individual's ability to get health care just for their quality of life to improve, but it's also a barrier for them to be able to get services that they know they need. And when you can't get those things because doctors won't give you a fair shake, or they suggest that you're not as bad as you say that you are, and we can go down that rabbit hole if we want to, then becomes frustrating. And it's also deflating because now you're stuck.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because when I had that car accident that ended my military career, I was having all these symptoms. I was having migraines for the first time in my life, and the doctor wrote it off as I was just stressed. I was unable to drive home 20 minutes, and the doctor said I was just overreacting, and I was just trying to pad my I was trying to pad my insurance case or trying to pad my disability case because I was a lieutenant colonel and they were expecting I would retire soon. And I was having episodes where I was even driving down the street and then forgetting where I was. Like, that's one of the biggest fears in life. You are driving this big vehicle around all these other people who sometimes can't drive, and you forget where you're going or what you're doing. And I'm like, look, I'm on track to make '06 full bird colonel. I'm not trying to pad a retirement case. I'm trying to get healed so I can get my promotion that I done worked so hard for. I worked hard for this promotion. I'm the general's #2 guy. Like, I was the chief of protocol. I'm like, I worked my butt off for this promotion, and it's time for me to get what's coming to me. And now this car accident is putting all that at risk, and I have to prove to these generals that mentally I can hack it, but I couldn't hack it. But month after month after month, and my doctor was like, well, I'm an authority in neuro injury, and you're fine. You're just whining. It just takes time to heal. Well, I was dissatisfied with that because I had this promotion on the line. So I went and paid out of pocket. I went to I went and paid out of pocket to get my neurologist care. And when I did that, they sent the reports back to the base. And when they sent the report back to the base, and the neurologist said, you have this problem, this problem, this problem, and this problem. And all of those problems made me unfit for military service. And they said it had all these problems now. And then the government was like, why did you go off base? Well, I went off base because y'all wouldn't provide me the care. Well, most of our airmen, most of our soldiers, most of our sailors, most of our young people, even some of our more experienced people, just because of the demographics we're in and the playing catch up we have to do economically, most of our people are not financially able to go pay a couple $1,000s for their own neurological care. Okay. And it just so happened that I was, and it just so happened that instead of sending the results to me, because I was military, they automatically sent it to the base. And okay, HIPAA violations, anybody? But you know, it's one of those that I did not file a complaint because it actually turned out to be a really good mistake, because not only did that guy get called up on the carpet, like, why did you not get this person care? Clearly there's a problem here. He actually got fired, and you know as well as I do how hard it is to fire a civilian employee. Okay, he actually got fired from the base, and the Air Force finally gave me the care that I needed. Now, they didn't give me all the care that I needed. I still continued with my own neurological care. I'm still under the care of my own neurologist today. And in fact, I have made such an impressive recovery that the people that they took me out of the Wounded Warrior program, they're like, well, you must not have had a TBI. I'm like, okay, so for 3 years, I was practically a vegetable, and you're saying nothing happened because I got so much better getting outside care. And it makes me angry that so many of our veterans work so hard all their lives. They inject us with all this. Okay, I'm going to calm myself down. They inject us with all this unknown experimental stuff. And then they send us out to these environments, the jet fuel, burn pits, all that stuff. And then we come home and they're like, you don't have a problem. Stop whining. Whereas somebody else who comes to, I mean, this is literal example. Coworker of mine came into the Air Force with a rugby injury from before he got in the Air Force, and his entire career got all kinds of back care, the back stretcher thing, special appointments. And then when he retired, I don't know why it wasn't service connected, but somehow they made it service connected, and he was able to get his disability for that. And so we see then that there is a disparity in the application of the healthcare, so that when you look at the benefits process, the VA can wave their flag and say, well, we don't have a problem. You just are not, it's like when they said we just don't have enough qualified minority applicants.
The same thing. It's the same principle.
Same thing. You're using societal norms to deny people from getting what they need to get in order to access the services. And then you're saying, oh, well, our promotion rates are fair. Our promotion process is fair. Your process is fair.
Yeah.
But what happens to feed into the process is not fair.
Right.
Speak to that just a little.
Oh, don't you push the button now.
I respond to the story because I know there's a lot there.
Right. So aside from the microaggressions, aside from the gaslighting, the system itself has within it, embedded within it, all of these unspoken mores and unspoken standards that are two-tiered. Well, actually, I wouldn't say it's two-tiered because you spoke to it a moment ago. You have people who are not benefiting from the system because they're Black. Some are not benefiting because they're women. Some are not benefiting because they're Black and female. There's layers to this, and I think it's important to look at it from all those angles because as you pointed out a moment ago, the government can technically do anything it wants to do, regardless of whatever they have set up. And I've seen that. I've seen people in the disability world who were not entitled to a promotion, but because they fit a particular profile, automatically and magically they were able to get promoted, or they were not qualified to move into this particular training program, but lo and behold, they get moved in. But that doesn't happen. And it's also, in a lot of cases, a lot about who you know. So that's another layer to it. It's the connections, the nepotism, the favoritism that play into that. But when we get into things like healthcare, then it becomes even more pronounced because now you have a lot of the things that we see in our society play out. It really, these spaces are a microcosm of our society to begin with. There's just a smaller picture. So we know that these are things that are going to happen because that is how our society has dictated, these unspoken biases will play out. Or these unconscious biases. So, and over time, what it will breed is a lot more discontent and a lot more frustration and anger. Because even as I see it now, when I'm coaching and consulting people who are VA 100% rated VA and they're TDIU and they're frustrated because they've done all they can do to get to the rating that they got in the VA, and then they find out, well, this doesn't carry over into Social Security's world. Then the frustrations come up again because they say, well, I did all I could do and it should carry over. I mean, I'm a wounded warrior, I'm this and that and the other. And that doesn't always translate. Sure, there are services for wounded warriors and military casualty in Social Security's programs. But when it comes to getting on disability, the shock that comes with realizing that their disability with the VA is not a disability with Social Security is so startling. And I see the comments, even on my YouTube channel, I see the comments of people that are just so beside themselves. I don't understand why I can't get Social Security. I'm disabled. And the government said I was, and why is the government saying here that I'm not? So it just has a lot of different layers. And when we talk about the disparities, again, going back to what we were talking about a moment ago, if you can't get the help that you need, because in this case, the VA is not doing this job, or the doctors are gaslighting you, or you have to go outside of the VA, outside of the military healthcare circles to get the help that you need. And that brings about some blowback. Then what do you do? So it's just a hot
That's
mess.
the problem. What do you do?
Yeah, yeah.
And this is why I really do recommend that people get their money in order and they stop spending more than they make, and that they build up a sizable savings. I have had so many financial planners, even people who are sizable wealth, millionaires, and one billionaire, and one of my I'm like, ooh, my contacts list is growing, through this business. But even so, it's like, you don't need to have a savings. You need to put your money into stuff that's investable. And I'm like, well, if you're a government employee, or you are a federal government, state government, federal government, military employee, you need to have a good 3 to 6 months savings, because you don't know what's coming down the pike that the military is not going to help you with. And there's almost this unwritten rule, or almost this unwritten unconscious directive imprinted in the DNA of people who look majority, whether they are majority or not, because there are a lot of fronters in the Air Force. And my friends tell me that this phrase is going out of fashion and I need to find something else to say, but they haven't given me one to say yet. But people who can pass for white, even those who are not white but can pass for white, I find that there is this unconscious drive to make sure to hold down people of color. So maybe the promotion process is valid, but there's something in that commander that makes sure every time they publish one of your OPRs, they're going to misspell your name. Or if you're a her, they're going to call you him. If you're a him, they're going to call you her. Or they're going to do some kind of glaring typo, so that even though they have all the flowery words, and by law they can't give you a referral OPR because you've done a smashingly bang up wonderful job, but they can write the words that they have to write about your performance, but they make sure they spell stuff wrong, especially your name. It is a clear signal to the promotion board, we don't like this guy, this gal. And if you don't know that as a military person from day one, then you don't know that every year as a person of color in the military, if you want to, especially in the officer corps, I know the enlisted corps is more performance-based for their promotions, but they're trying to go to an officer style promotion. And I actively fought against that. Aside from your chiefs, there's no reason we should be letting the competition of peers be the way that our enlisted corps get promoted, because the enlisted corps is based on skill set and expertise in your job set, in executing that portion of the mission, whether it's the mechanics or the logistics or the things like that. And if you do it the same way as the officers, then you're going to have the same thing, at least in the Air Force, that you have in the officers, where as in the Air Force, about 30% of our enlisted corps is Black. That's compared to a 13% population in the country is Black, about 13%. 30% of our enlisted corps, that's the workforce of the Air Force, the blue collar force of the Air Force, is Black. But only like 7% of the officers, the leadership corps, are Black. And now there's, I think, two Black women generals. But at the time that I started my doctoral research, there were 0 Black women generals. And so, you look at those disparities, and I'm like, there is no way on God's green earth that I'm going to advocate for y'all doing to the enlisted corps what you're doing to the officer corps, because we have lots of successful Black chiefs, Black female chiefs, Black male chiefs, Black chiefs, brown chiefs in the Air Force, and it's a much more merit-based promotion. Okay, but if you don't know this, then you don't know that when you're signing up to be an officer in the Air Force, and I'm sure the other services as well, I'd love to get people from other services to speak to it, you are basically signing up that every year you are filing a report, or a a claim with the Board of Correction of Military Records. Every year you're going to file one. You know why? Because somebody's going to put something in your report that's wrong. It's going to look like it's innocuous. It's going to look like it's just a little typo. It's going to look like somebody was just in a rush. It is a very intentional placement to make sure that you don't get the promotion opportunities that you're supposed to have. But nobody knows that. And so we don't fight it, because we don't tell each other. Because by the time we learn it, we're usually part of the establishment or we're out of it. And that's one of the biggest things. That's why I really appreciate you coming forward to talk so much about disability shenanigans, is because very, very rarely do people want to talk about these things, because they're still on the government dole.
Yeah.
They're still getting paid by Uncle Sugar, and they're not going to risk that solid paycheck. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm sorry, my health, my emotional freedom and my financial freedom cannot be tied to people who have it built into their consciousness to keep her down. She doesn't need to get outside of her place. And if she doesn't know her place, we're going to put her in it for her. Ooh, I can get fired up about that.
Right. I saw it. I saw the temperature rise.
I wish that someone would have sat down and told me. And the thing is I can say that. I can say that all day long. I wish someone would have sat down and told me these things when I was a young lieutenant. I think if they tried to, I probably wouldn't have listened to them.
Mm. Well,
I was doing a good job.
yeah, you bring up something that is just in my mind a fact of life when it comes to specifically Black military individuals, Black government workers. Even in Social Security, I saw a ton of it. And I remember when I was a support staff person, I was not even, no, actually I was an analyst at that time. I was a disability analyst. And there was a promotion to be in operations, which is, where the branch chief is and all the other branch chiefs are situated. So this was an opportunity to advance. And I was putting in along with a white guy who I perceived was gay. I can't really speak to that, didn't know him that well, but that's the perception that I got. So but regardless of that, the fact is he had not been on the job for very long. I had been on the job for about maybe 5 years, and I had a great track record, but I still had this issue with falling asleep. But they were not fully aware that at the same time I was going to school at night, finishing something that kind of followed me into training. And that became something that was a fallback. Well, Greg always falls asleep. Well, Greg is doing the work of 5 people. And some people were saying, let him sleep. Hey, if this is how he's getting his stuff done, and he's backing up his people, and he's going upstairs screening CDRs voluntarily, and he's done with his day well before most people are getting their day started. Let him sleep. And that was coming from supervisors. But when I became an analyst, that still followed me. And then when we put in for this position in operations, he got chosen over me when I had the track record, I had the knowledge base, I had the skill set. He had some skills, but weighing them in terms of the experience, I knew I had more. But I understood that was just another layer to it all. So that's when I became, well, I was already that person, but I think I became even more determined to make sure that if I was in a situation where I can control some levers, I was going to do that. So fast forward to, that was with the state of California. So fast forward to when I became a specialist with Social Security on the federal side. I proposed to my supervisor that there's an issue with caseload management, and I have something that this module I created that can help, and that involves coaching. And this is what I alluded to in my book. And the people, I told them, we need to get the best of the best to help me be coaches. And he said, well, people are going to want to have their people.
Oh, you're blanking out. You're blanking out. I want to hear this point. Please say it again.
Okay, so he was saying that well, people or other supervisors are going to want to have their people involved. I said no, because if that's the case, I'm not going to do it. So unless I get what I want, to make this successful, or I'm just going to pull it. And they decided, okay, well, you get to choose who you want. So I chose 5 women because they were the best analysts out there. I interviewed them. I interviewed a lot of them, but the 5 that rose to the top, out of 5 of them, 3 were Black, 2 were white. And I said, I don't care who you are. Mm-hmm. And I knew them personally, but I also knew what their work was. And I already had in my mind, these are the people that I wanted. But I knew I had to stand my ground and make sure that they were not going to, they meaning the higher ups, were not going to sabotage this plan by using favoritism and nepotism and just societal norms thing, and use that as a way to get their people to pad their resumes. That's no, not on my watch. Not when this is the boundary that I created. So if this is going to be successful, if you want to see your analysts perform better on their caseloads, then it's going to have to flow this way. And to this day, people are still talking about that. And they actually asked me after I left, hey, can we use this still to help our analysts? So that told me everything I needed to know about how the system can by system, I'm talking about the racial disparities, can be so short-sighted and harmful to where they would rather shoot themselves in the foot than actually succeed.
Don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and ask your question at ladiesofwealth.com.